All right. So we're going to go over the new build that I've been running. This build is called the Justicar. It's got protection, holy, and witchcraft. When I first swapped over to it, I didn't really like it that much. And then after using it a little bit, I swapped off and I was like, I want to go back to it. So I think I actually genuinely really like this build. It felt like it didn't have a whole lot going on, but I tweaked it a bit. And I've actually found it to be one of the stronger builds that I've used for grinding. I want to say its strength is mostly for PvE. I think if I were to use this in PvP, which I did use it in PvP, I wasn't feeling the strength. Like it wasn't doing it for me. There's too much to interrupt. I don't feel like it's got enough mobility and oomph behind it for PvP to work. It does have a lot of AoE built in, so that's probably part of the reason. It has a lot of sustain. If I were to use this in PvP, I'd probably switch up a couple pieces. Most particularly going for Devout Protector and Devout Healer, right? You might also run this more heavily in a group if you were doing PvP. But it's got some versatility without changing too much, so that's a benefit. But the PvE is super solid. But at the core of the build has a ton of sustain. We're using Mend and Banner Protection on not every pull. If it's one mob, I usually only pop like Banner down. If it's like AoE pull, I'll pop both of these. And this almost keeps you alive the whole time. The build has a lot of sustain. So you're popping those at the start of the fight to keep you healthy. And then you're rotating through your other moves. You have both single target that also acts kind of as a multi-target. And I'm going to go over that here in a second. And you also have a lot of AoE. So for your single target options, you have your dots: Curse, Leech, Holy Shackles, and Holy Force. This also combos really well together because we're using the Holy Shackle card that adds 12% damage, and this goes up with the card rarity, to Smite and Holy Force. So if it's a single target, I'll pop both of my Witchcraft dots on them, and then we'll hit them with the Shackles, and then start either spamming Smite if it's already low, or we'll hit it with the Holy Force, and then finish off with Smite. That pretty much does any single target in pretty quickly. The damage from Holy Shackles is really nice. Also, we're using the Flash Heal card that does boost Smite or Holy Shackles. I wouldn't recommend comboing this with Smite. There's really no reason. Boosting one Smite cast by 25% isn't a lot. But if you do cast Flash Heal on yourself 3 times, you're getting a 75% damage boost to Holy Shackles. That's not a small amount. Holy Shackles does a lot of damage. Now, I wouldn't recommend popping this all the time because wasting, like just sitting there spamming Flash Heal is a waste of time. But what I tend to do with this is if I've hit the opponent once with, say, a Smite, I have 20 Aether. If I want to do a Shackles, instead of smiting twice, I will Flash Heal myself once and then hit him with the Shackles, because Flash Heal gives you 30 Aether instead of 20. So I like to combo Flash Heals in whenever I want to hit that 50% mark on Aether before I pop off with a Shackles, right? So I just sort of mix in Flash Heals here and there where I feel it functions as like I could use a small heal and I'm about to hit him with the Shackles, and then I proceed from there. So there is a bit of synergy there. I like it. It's not super impactful, but it's worth noting. So besides that, that's your single target. Now, the reason why this also acts a little bit into multi-target is Holy Force. We're using the card that does the, what is it? Sacred Ground? It's the Sacred Ground. It pops Sacred Ground on the floor. I should probably be near something where you can kill. Do we have some vampires over here? They're our level, right? Let's run over to these vampires real quick. Just to be easier to demonstrate. Oh. Let's go up here. So we're using the card with Holy Force that pops Sacred Ground underneath him, right? So that does also do a bit with AoE. These things are quite a bit above us, so we got to be a little careful. But the other part that's AoE is Death Touch. So whenever you pop a Death Touch, we have the card that spreads the Empowered Curse, and I'd highly recommend that one. So basically, I don't use Death Touch usually unless I am about to multi-target, but it pops the Empowered Curse on everything in the area, right? And I guess these guys are really tough, so it'll showcase a little bit just how much sustain is in this build, and we'd even pop our other sustain moves. We're just auto-attacking these things down and popping little bits and bobs. Actually, do we have our stats in? We do. But it would be better to showcase this on lesser mobs. Just to give you context here, we're 9 levels below these. So this thing's slapping us but for good reason. One more level and it literally would not be fightable. Let's go over to Zephyr Hills because it's more the level of what we currently are effective. I don't want people thinking the build's weak because it's not weak. It's very strong. What did we take? We took hook masks for our task. All right, so single target, pretty basic. You pop the dots, you pop your shackles, and you can honestly, like something like this, you could just smite it down. The shackles does empower your smites. It's a shocking amount of damage. Like, I didn't expect it to be this strong. Now, these are going to be mobs that we would rather just AoE because they're lower than us. This build is pretty good at AoE, so we'll go further into the hook mask and grab a bunch of them. The other part that we need to get to is the AoE move. So we have Blessed Earth is very big for AoE. Smiting Smash combos with that with a card. It will give them Blessed Resonance or whatever it's called. Yeah, Blessed Resonance, which increases the damage by Blessed Earth by 30%. So that's your big AoE bit. You basically will dot one, hit him with Death Touch to spread the dot, and then you'll hit him with the Blessed Earth. The other thing you can do also is Holy Force one of them to pop Consecration down, but usually it's not necessary. The nice part about this build that I was really enjoying is just the sustain, right? The amount of sustain the build has is pretty crazy. We could pull more hook masks, like maybe one or two. But here, I'll focus for a sec so we don't die demonstrating this. Okay. We didn't actually Death Touch during that, but we'll Death Touch now. You should Death Touch right at the start of it to give them all the Empowered Curse, but it removes them all pretty quick. A little sloppy. Trying to explain things while I do it is not my strong suit. That's pretty much all the moves though, right? We got our AoE down, our sustain down, our defensives. We have 2 defensives. Well, technically 3 with the shield on the weapon. This is from the scepter. But you can basically, on each pull, if you're doing big pulls, if you're doing a very big pull, you want Unbreakable. Like if you're going to try and pull like 4 or 5 hook masks, you're going to want a big shield. So maybe like 5 or 6. Or I would say hook masks, but something your level or around there. If you're pulling like 6 or more, you're going to need to Unbreakable or they will kill you. That's pretty much the limits. But the amount of sustain the build has is pretty crazy. Also worth noting that we're using the Dawn's Light, the free Dawn's Light, when you use Mend. So you can sit here and just like pop Dawn's Light to deal damage to them. Doesn't do a ton of damage. But that's a lot of explanation. Dawn's Light has a card that does damage to things around it, and Mend will give you free Dawn's Lights. So all of it together, it's going to take a hot minute. I don't know if I just want to leave this screen up. People can look at what we use. There's a lot of synergy going on in a lot of these moves. We're using the healing move on the banner. We're using the free move, like I just mentioned. The damage move from Dawn's Light. Holy Shackles is increasing Holy Force and Smite. Smite is resetting Holy Force. There's just a lot going on in a lot of these. And I'm going to kind of hover over each one just so you can see what I used. But you can kind of, honestly, if you're building the build and you're looking at the cards available, the options are pretty self-explanatory, I feel like. One thing I do want to note about this move here, we have Eternal Worms on. I almost don't use this. I really don't like removing dots in this build. There's so much healing already going on that Worms feels redundant. I was liking Magic Rupture better. And then I would use the card that makes Leech do a little bit more with Rupture. But to be honest, this is a very low impact piece to the build. So what else do we have to explain? The move set, single target, multi-target. Stat priorities are probably important. I would go with high int, going with spell power as your primary stat. If you can get gear with spell power, that's great. Spell power gear is very expensive. So if you don't want spell power gear, I'd recommend healing power gear. Healing power straight up. That's what my set is right now. I am full healing power. Vitality as the primary stat, healing power as the secondary, which adds a lot of power to the build. Healing power, you can do the math on shields and heals, but it's high impact. On builds like this, it's very high impact. Right now we're sitting at 175 healing power and 279 spell power. So basically, we're really hard to kill. It's nice. It's really good for AoE clear and just staying alive through big pulls. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't run too much Hexwarden yet, but I would say it's probably comparable. Like we'll grab everything here. And we should be able to survive. We're going to pop Smiting Smash here. And this, I actually didn't do correct because we didn't actually start with the banner. This was without banner and without mend. Just the Blessed Earth, and the healing that we have built in on our gear. Like, it's just so strong. Stuff is just really not breaking us. But yeah, that pretty much explains most of it. I've been really enjoying this build. I don't think I'm going to play it permanently. I really enjoy my Astral Ranger right now. But I swapped back to this because I was having a good time with it. It's pretty, I don't know. What else want to explain? If I were going to PvP with this, I mentioned at the start, I haven't tested this, but I'm pretty sure, because I did fight with this build quite a bit, I'm pretty sure if you went Devout Protector and Devout Healer, you could probably make a very effective PvP build out of this. It would mostly bank on the fact that you'd be nearly impossible to take down, unless, you know, enough people were focusing you. But in a one-on-one, I don't think you'd be killable. You wouldn't have a ton of damage. Like, you would sacrifice a lot of your damage because of that, but it would be very strong. And I think that's everything. Chat, is that everything? Are there any other synergies I missed? I've been using this for like 2 days now. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it. I think we got everything here. But anyways, that's the whole build. Absolutely love it. I would recommend this if you want to heal and you're looking for a build that can clear things while you're capable of healing, and then you can also switch into a more healing centered build when you're with your friends doing bosses. This is a pretty good build. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you liked the video, give it a like. I'd appreciate it. And thanks for watching.